What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another RotoQL NFL Play of the Day video. Today we're taking a look at the top value plays for Week 3 in the NFL. Now, finding some value this week is going to be really important. Flipping over really quickly to the running back position, there's some high-priced guys in excellent spots who you're going to want to really make a point to jam into your lineups, whether that be in cash games or in tournaments. Todd Gurley, Alvin Kamara, Melvin Gordon III, Christian McCaffrey, Kareem Hunt. These are the top 5 guys who I'm looking at in my lineups. Really want to make a point to get those guys in. So you're going to need to find some value plays to help be able to afford those guys on both DraftKings and FanDuel. So let's take a look at the quarterback position. There's some decent quarterback options here. DraftKings has really adjusted their quarterback pricing scale. You see the most expensive guy right now is Aaron Rodgers at $7,100, and it really only goes down to kind of the mid-5s this week. Cam Newton, I certainly have some interest in at $6,000. He's actually, if we take a look at Cam Newton here really quickly, seen his price drop $600. It's dropped every week despite having a great game last week against the Atlanta Falcons. Has a decent matchup at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. He's certainly in play. Deshaun Watson is another guy finally returning home. You know, Deshaun Watson been getting a lot of flack over the first 2 weeks, but look, threw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns last week, has a great rushing floor. This Giants defense, you know, it's not scaring me at all. Certainly viable for Deshaun Watson at $6,100. I think that's a great price. But the guy I'm going to go with here is a little bit surprising. It's actually Blake Bortles at $5,600. I think you can go there in cash games. I certainly have a lot of interest stacking up Bortles with either Keelan Cole or D.D. Westbrook. In tournaments, taking a look at Blake Bortles here, look at his performance at home. 100% median or exceeding value over the last year plus at home. You see great upside here, a great floor too. Now look, I know his price tag was kind of below $5,000 for most of these games, but even when it's got up to that $5,400 and above, you know, excellent upside. Has a great matchup with the Tennessee Titans, who tend to funnel possessions and for opposing offenses toward the pass. Their big offseason acquisition, Malcolm Butler, is giving up the most air yards in the league right now. Certainly a good spot for Blake Bortles at home against Tennessee Titans. Flipping over to the running back position, there's some interesting values here as well. Tevin Coleman will continue to get all the workload with Devonta Freeman out. He's certainly in play at $6,400. Lamar Miller is pretty interesting at $5,000 here. But the stone cold lock of the week right now is going to be Gio Bernard for $5,900 here, with Joe Mixon set to miss with a knee injury. Just had his knee scoped. Now the matchup isn't great here against Carolina, you know, but they're going to be without Thomas Davis still. That's, you know, a huge blow for their rushing defense. We just saw Tevin Coleman go for 100 yards on the ground last week. We can see here, these 4 games right here are the games that Giovanni Bernard played without Joe Mixon last season. We can see great upside here, 32 points. And he's going to get work in the passing game. It's going to give him a great floor in GPPs, as you can see here. When Joe Mixon didn't play last year, 6 targets, 3 targets, 7 targets, or excuse me, 8 targets, 5 targets, 7 targets, 9 targets. That's a really great floor that you're going to want to lock in for $5,900. Really like Giovanni Bernard in cash games this week. I think you can find some great pivots in tournaments. Kareem Hunt, for me, being the top pivot off of the Giovanni Bernard chalk. At wide receiver, kind of the same deal. You really have a lot of decent options in that sub $5,000 range. Sammy Watkins is a guy who I'm looking at $5,100. I mentioned him in my first look video. Really like Sammy Watkins for $5,100. We saw him. If you take a look at Sammy real quick, had 7 targets last week with 6 receptions for 100 yards, and it could have been even better. The one target that he missed, he was wide open, would have been a 35-yard touchdown. Patrick Mahomes just missed him, one of his only mistakes of the day. Could have been an eruption game for Sammy Watkins. We're seeing defenses really shift, focusing all of their focus on Tyreek Hill. Going to see a lot of double coverage over the top. It's going to open things up for Sammy Watkins, who throughout his career has really never seen this kind of single coverage that he's going to see. Great matchup against San Francisco. Just allowed 347 yards last week against Matthew Stafford and the Lions. Another guy I have a decent amount of interest in. We're just going to flip over to this game right here. Is on the Rams is going to be Robert Woods for $5,100. Brandon Cooks is going to get the difficult matchup in this one. against Casey Hayward, but Robert Woods on the other side in a great spot. And we can see the snaps for all these wide receivers. We know that these three guys are going to be the ones on the field. 5,100, we take a look at Robert Woods pretty quickly. At home, he has this kind of upside that we're looking for, has a pretty good floor. Just in general last season, plus minus of 5.5. Started off a little bit slow this year, but he's seen 18 targets. That's the kind of volume that we're looking for. I would expect a good bounce back week for Robert Woods. But the guy who I'm going to side with here, especially in a cash game, is Cooper Kupp for 4,900. Take a look at Cooper Kupp, plus minus of 2.7 at home. That improves to 5.2. The target share is there. He is the top red zone option in this offense. As we take a look here, red zone receiving has 5 red zone targets already this season, 15 targets overall. And these are very high percentage targets. He doesn't have a huge average depth of target, but you have to feel really good about his floor here for 4,900 against the Chargers team who, let's be honest, I'm high on this Chargers defense when Joey Bosa plays. Joey Bosa is not going to play in this game. That really affects their pass rush, which in turn it kind of affects their back end. I expect a good game from Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. You can go with either of these guys, no problem. So that sums up the top RotoQL value plays of the week: Blake Bortles, Gio Bernard, and Cooper Kupp. I also talk about some other guys who, if you don't like these guys, you can certainly pivot to. Good luck this week, everyone. I will be back tomorrow with some trending players, guys you can target at good ownership. Last week we really nailed it with some of those guys, especially Travis Kelce. So good luck this week, everyone.